Yes, so we were talking about the cameras. Did cost of, I think you said around $289,000.
Correct. So
projected?
$298,000 includes the cost of the cameras. They're multi-head cameras for the intersections. They provide 270 degrees of view, easily movable. Each mounting system is designed to be left in place, and then another location, we put another mounting bracket to it. So in case we have to move them around, again, all of this information, the number of cameras, the locations that we're putting them at has been done through crime analysis. This is what our CAC center out of Orange County has determined is the best. So this includes areas in Midtown Kingston, a few downtown, some uptown, and all of the locations that have in and out of the city. And again, so when we're talking about the use of cameras by government, you can't help to talk about Big Brother and the aspects that people have about their constitutional protections of their rights. I understand that. You can't walk into a department store, a Walmart, a grocery store, any place without being on camera. Now, the fact of the matter is loss prevention, those officers that serve that purpose within that store still catch people shoplifting. It still happens. This will act as a deterrent for some people. But more importantly, this will help us investigatively to close cases when incidents occur. And we're not looking at just violent acts. These cameras can be used for a lot of other things. When a person goes missing, a young girl goes missing, a young boy goes missing, and we can see if they passed that intersection, what clothing they may have had on at the time. So it serves a purpose beyond just the violent shooting aspect of it. So the cameras themselves are about $10,000. The other about $8,000 is for display equipment, computer equipment, some wiring, in addition to the camera systems themselves. We would set a dedicated display down at our dispatch center. Officer Arciello has already looked at that, see the capability within our current dispatch location. Again, it's not a real-time viewing. I don't want anybody on the council to think that we are able to monitor this real-time. The cameras would be up. They'd be all sectioned out onto the screen. The dispatchers and the sergeant would have the capability to look at the cameras when necessary as calls came in. They are essentially the best eyewitnesses you can have. You're not relying on someone's memory. You're not relying on someone's testimony. There is an apprehension of people getting involved in criminal cases today. They're worried about retaliation. They're concerned about turning over their own video cameras. Let's face it, within your own ward, you have to see these Ring cameras going up. And I use Ring as the manufacturer, but many places have them. But there are concerns by individuals of turning over that video evidence for fear of retaliation. Can be understood. This is a government-owned system. So the other 8,000 goes into the display system, the computer system dedicated for this, some other wiring. The other additional expense on the initial purchase is about $14,000 a year, which will continue on, including the first year, which is for the Verizon LTE or whenever it comes 5G network. These cameras all work on a non-wired wireless or cellular based network. That's what makes them able to be just powered by the dusk to dawn tap. And then at that point, located anywhere in the city. We have pretty good coverage, right? You said that Verizon gave you the map on that, Jeremy. So we're looking good there. And then after the first year, we're looking at about $25,000 per year after that for the service contract to maintain those cameras. Each camera is about $800, $850 for the maintenance on that. So in addition to the initial purchase of $298, we're looking at $14,500, somewhere in there for the Verizon bill per month, per year. And on top of that, the 25 and 26,000 for the service contract there after the first year.
That would be annual?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to let everybody know live stream is apparently back on, so best behavior again, please. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks. Steve Shabbat, any questions here? Steve
Thank
Shabbat?
you, Mr. Chair. Chief, the 298,000, does that include the installation of the cameras, or is the city going to do that?
So the idea is that based upon what the company was telling us and what we've seen in other jurisdictions that use these particular cameras, the installation is that simple. I believe that our city electrician, although they're probably pressed for time, has the capability and the wherewithal to install them themselves. So that would be an in-house installation. And included in that, we've had Kyle McIntosh and his team from IT also sit in on some of these discussions. And currently Kyle is on the team that is doing the LPR installations as well. So he's familiar with Verizon. We use them exclusively for both our data, for our police cars, and for our cellular phones in the department. So I think everything we can do in-house, correct?
Anything else, Steve?
Oh, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick
Yeah,
question?
Don Toohey?
Chief, what's the financial impact or what's the funding source? I just didn't have anything in front of me to reference.
That's where you come in. We
Okay.
currently don't have any grants available that we could find that we would be eligible for. There may be something obscure, but we haven't come across that yet. Unlike the LPR grant that was somewhat funded. So at this point, we're looking at city money for this.
And what's the total?
Currently, we're looking at 298. We believe that is a good estimate.
Okay, I would recommend if the council's considering this to withdraw those funds from fund balance for that.
So in addition to, so on top of that would be the 298 plus $15,000 for the cellular data plans as well. There are unlimited data plans at $37.99 a month per card. Essentially, every camera gets its own SIM card, and that's how it transmits the data back.
I do have one, hopefully a last question, and maybe I missed this. What's the lifespan of these cameras? Did you, I don't know if you said, I didn't catch that if you said.
No, I did not. That's a great question. So ideally, they are in a armored case, so to speak. They are designed to be vandal proof, elevated position. Honestly, the last set that we got, although we're talking about older technology, we got more than 5 years out of them. And then we just stopped funding the repairs on them. So, but the warranty themselves, they'll cover them for as long as they can. Yeah.
Great. Anything else? Other questions, comments? So we're not acting on this tonight. Is that right?
I don't have a committee report only because I wasn't sure. I was supposed to bring back the information at the request of Alderman Tollerman to discuss it with finance to see if it's something I can put it together. We have proposals from the company and Verizon. We've worked closely with them, and there's other jurisdictions that we've looked at. I know Officer Ocielo's visited a couple of them and has seen it firsthand on how effective the capability is. Again, I think the biggest issue, and I'll pull back slightly. I know there's always a financial issue involved. I think the greater issue is the determination by the council to support the use of cameras throughout the city. I think that's a big issue. I know there's a lot of individuals out there, residents that may not want that, but I can tell you that every resident in this city wants public safety, because it's not, you can't go on the street if there's people firing guns. We're helping that this technology, we know that this technology will help reduce that. At least then allows us to bring the individuals that are committing those acts to justice.
Andrew Shot?
If you talked about this before when I was distracted, just tell me to go back and listen to the video. Okay. So, but in terms of where these are going to go, has that been an internal conversation yet? I mean, do you have ideas of where you're going to put this, and what's that community outreach going to look like?
Yes.
And again, if this is something that you already spoke of, you don't need to repeat yourself. I was just quite distracted.
So what I had Officer Arciello do as a starting point, so he understands technology, he's good with video systems, so he had a good understanding of how the technology needs to be deployed. What we didn't know is how many cameras, right? 5, 6, 80? We don't know. So he went, actually you met with our crime analyst down at the CAC and went through, and she determined that we're looking at 29 locations in Kingston and just on the perimeter that would be the biggest bang for the buck. At that point, we said, okay, there's 29 of those. Let's look at 29 cameras. And I think that WCCTV, I think that's the vendor that we're looking at, has proposed a camera system that's capable of 270-degree view. So one of those cameras can effectively cover the entire intersection. So again, to make clear, we're not looking at shot spotter technology. I know you had mentioned or asked about that before. That can be put on top of this. We're not looking, these cameras can be used. There are some algorithms that can be put into to determine how many times a blue Ford Mustang went past. It'll take pictures of it. We're not looking for that. We are looking solely for basic video surveillance on intersections and crosswalks and streets. We're not looking in somebody's apartment window. We're not looking at down the. If I had 29 police officers and 29 patrol cars, they would be stationed at these intersections. They'd be doing the same thing. You're just not paying a yearly salary. That's what it comes down to.
Tony Davis?
Tony Davis here. And Chief, I don't know if we're making a proposal today, right? My thoughts is to gather that information that you said you got from, I don't know if you have it here yet, from the purchase or the place that you might be thinking about who gave you some of this information, and that you could get back to us on that, and like what's the warranty on it, or the warranty, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure if this would have to be sent out to bid, or would we be able to just go to, whoever they thought would be. So I'm not sure, are we waiting to vote on this tonight? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Again,
You're kind of asking for a straw poll, right? Whether we're generally in favor of this?
Correct. And again, I did this at the request of Alderman Tolman and Alderwoman Worthington. We are, and I'll say this, you give me the money, we're ready to go. We know the locations. We know how to mount them. This is as simplistic as it comes. We do have the locations already mapped out. Officer Arciello and our crime analyst Darian were able to actually use Google Maps to show the intersections that we're looking at in and around. I mean, quickly to kind of go over them, you can understand that, we had the city map. She did start off with a shots fired map first as an overlay over the last 4 years. And then from there, we moved on to include other assaults and whatnot. But the intersections, I would imagine you could have come up with those intersections on your own, just based upon reading the paper and where these incidents are occurring. There should be no surprises as to where the camera locations are best served there. Again, since we're not running any hard wires except for internally at headquarters, and again, our IT department is well versed in that. They currently do that with all of our car data. So I think, if the council is ready to move on this, I can draw something up, have it ready almost immediately. The company is ready to go. The technology exists. We already have the capability to just add these cards to our current account when it comes to Verizon. We just got to schedule a city electrician and pay the bill.
Michelle Hirsch?
Thank you, Chief Genty. I greatly appreciate your going to the CAC and getting data and having them be involved and help you put this together. Would they have data on other cities that use similar systems, and how is there data for how much they have helped in other communities and bring,
So you raise an interesting question. The one thing that I've been struggling with as part of the crime analysis in this department, and I go back before crime analysis was a household word. You can't put a price on proactive work. There's no way to measure crimes that you've stopped from happening, right? And that's the one struggle that I've had internally, is to say, oh, yeah, we've arrested so many people, we've intervened in so many incidents or crises, but how many times did Officer Arciello turn a corner of a block and the individual has changed their mind because of the mere presence of that officer, right? The physical deterrent that occurs when you see a visible presence of a patrol car or an officer. So one is the visible deterrence that these cameras lend. And more importantly to me is the investigative follow-up when a crime occurs, because people still shoplift. They shoplift when they walk into a store and the sign is right here that says you're on camera, but they still shoplift for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, theft prevention or theft, loss prevention is able to bring them to justice faster. So again, here's where I have to put on a different tone to this. We have never seen the level of violence in the city like we have, ever. Throughout the state, Governor Cuomo, after closing down the COVID emergency, has just established another one. This is only one remedy. I will be back to this council, make no mistake, requesting additional resources, and some of them will be police officers. I need boots on the ground to do this job. This is a great tool. Every one of you have a smartphone with a camera in them. You can't deny the capability that they have, just hold them in your hand. Imagine what they'll serve for public safety purposes. Again, I understand that this is a large outlay, $300,000 plus a yearly investment of almost $40,000 for the upkeep and maintenance on it. I get it. And I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing, but the fact is, what's the price on public safety? Because right now, individuals are not going out on the street playing with their kids because they fear that a stray bullet is coming down the block. Now, I know people say I'm being theatrical, right? I get it. I'm not. People call my office and say, what are you going to do about this, chief? And I'm saying to you as council members, what are you going to do about it? Because these are solutions I'm coming up with. At some point, I haven't heard anything from you. And I'm not trying to be confrontational, but the fact of the matter is my phone rings. I'm being held responsible for the public safety of this department and this city. This is just one solution. There's others, and I will be asking for those as well, but this was at the request of Officer Tolman. And that was the same tone and response I gave him when he called and said, because it happened in his ward, what are we going to do about this, Jid? And I said, do you want the real answer? I'll tell you the real answer. We got to do something, but I need the support of the council to do it because our officers are stretched thin. We can't do it like this. We can't keep up. Our call volume's high. The incidents that we're responding to are labor intense. We just got the detective division back up to the minimum manning. Minimum. We're not even where we used to be. We used to have 12 detectives. We're at 8. So we're struggling as it is. And we're lucky that we can rely on other agencies to give us the help. This technology is essentially additional officers without paying the yearly salary. It doesn't replace them, but it supplants them. I'm sorry. I know I lectured a little bit, but this is a serious topic that people do call. I got a call this morning about it, right? That they are not letting their kids out to play in the streets, in their driveway even, because they're worried in their neighborhood that there were incidents like this. How do you respond to that? Do you tell them not to put their kids out? The number one priority of my department, every member that serves it, and of the city should be public safety, because it doesn't matter what else happens. You can put up all the parks you want, and I think it's great, but no one's going to play in them if people are dealing drugs in them. No one's going to walk down the sidewalk if people are drive-by shootings. I'm trying to send you a strong message. This has to be thought of very directly by the council members, because whether or not you vote in favor of this is going to determine what the next step is. If you say, no, Jid, I don't want it, I'll give you another idea. But at some point, I'd like to hear from all of you. Right? This is not intrusive. I'm not looking into bedroom windows. I'm not listening to people's conversations. If an incident occurs, we'll look at the camera and we'll hopefully catch someone doing something they're not supposed to do and bring them to justice. Once they're in front of the court and the judges, that's on them. We don't control that part of it. People blame us because individuals are out on bail or being released. We have no control. Police department has zero control over that. That falls on the courts. Whatever ends up happening, happens. And there's a frustration there too, when people call my office and say, hey, you just arrested this guy that punched me in the head. Now he's back on the street.
So,
Sorry.
Go ahead, Michelle.
So I appreciate all that. I want you to know that I'm not arguing with you. I just have questions. So say so it's been determined that these are the 29 hotspots, right? They're in view. What if everybody just moves their crime? Are we going to
Yes,
evaluate?
correct. So some of them are fixed location cameras that will never be moved. The ones that are out on the outliers of the city, although those intersections have not been determined to actually have or be hot spots, they also deliver to us the best information for people leaving or coming into the city that may have been involved in a crime. So you have to say there's some value to that, some incredible value to being able to say, well, they left this area. Let's check every vehicle that left Kingston between 2 and 3 p.m. on a Friday that incident occurred. Now we can go back and say, well, you know what? These vehicles, right? With the camera system and the LPRs, that'll help the investigators track down this bad guy, these bad guys. So in some cases, they are going to be moved. If we find that these hot spots do move, and I know you and Darian had said that it's a fluid situation. You know, at some point, people will look up and see the cameras and determine no good. No different than if I park the patrol car in a corner. People are going to go, let's take our business somewhere else. Right? It's happened within your own wards. You've called me and said, hey, I got a problem with this thing going down the block. What do? We go in there and we investigate. We bring in building code violations and do what we can. And ultimately, the individuals move. Sometimes they just move to a different part of Kingston, and then it's a different older person that calls me, but that's all the best we can do for remedy right now. The
Great.
big thing is that
Anything
it's
else?
investigative tool.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, so I think, go ahead.
Just an idea with those 29 locations, I think it'd be valuable to share that with all the council members. Because,
absolutely
and
send
one
that
of my concerns with the vehicle was, we read about it in the paper, which we were never, nothing against Ariel here, but we don't like reading about things in the paper, and the community doesn't like, again, being told what they want and what they need. So perhaps we could do some more outreach if we know those 29 locations.
Does the community call you to talk about public safety? Do they want a safe street? Do they want a safe park? Do they want a safe community?
Yes,
There you go. There you have it.
Well,
thank you.
first, so I'd just like to take a straw poll. I think we're all interested in seeing a full proposal, am I right? Because nobody's intellectually or theoretically against this, right? We're for it, or at least we're open to the idea, right? Yes, yes, yes. And so, and we know that at least 2 other members are. So I think if everybody is okay with this, I think what we'd like to see is a formal proposal, right? So something that lays out the spots, lays out the equipment, gives us a clear sense, of the costs. So we can very carefully take this out to our constituents, share it with them, and build a discussion about it, right? So then if we could get that soon, and then there's communication for August's finance committee,
Okay.
then I think we could move it, through at that time. Does that sound okay to you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I have it to you by the end of the week. I'll make sure you have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that there was crisis creates change, right? When this incident occurred, this is the one that Don Holloran called me on and said, I can't have my residents living like this. I said, I understand. And we got to start doing things, right? I'm deploying the police officers based upon data in the best locations I can, the best I can, right? We painted the vehicles of dark blue and a white to bring attention that the fact that the officers are there, right? We used to run white cars with some lettering on the side to save money. But the value of having people going, well, wow, there's a cop, there's a cop. We went from double cars to single officer cars to increase the visible presence of police officers in the city. Because as much as people may say, I don't want cops in my neighborhood, the fact of the matter is a visible police officer deters crime. I can't measure it. I wish I could, but I can't. So, in jurisdictions that have implemented cameras, you mentioned Beacon, I know that Jeremy has looked into this. It's hard because there are other programs that were implemented at the same time. So there's multiple factors involved. But I will absolutely have that proposal for you. It'll be drawn up. It'll have the locations on there that we currently believe are the best locations, and everything's supported through crime analysis. I don't think anyone can argue, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? We have the data set for that. So, but the cost, right? And I think the more important part of it is, it's not the $300,000. It's a $40 million a year budget. It's not 300,000, right? It's whether or not people want to know that the city's got cameras on them. There's cameras every place you walk. There's cameras in this hallway downstairs. There's cameras in every patrol car. Officer Arciello has a camera on right now. It's the way of life now, right? There's a camera right there, like you said, when it's working, right? So cameras are a way of life. Why not use it to make the public safer? That's my speech.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And thanks, Officer Arciello, for doing all that work to bring it to this point. But I think we want a formal proposal so that we can really look at it. But I do think that there's definitely there's clearly an openness to consider it. And then we'll talk more. All right. Thank you for all your work and perseverance tonight. Oh, very good.
Driveway and all that. Yeah, it's good.
Well, it's,
All right,
it's
thank you, guys.
far enough where you can be away, but close enough to get back when the laundry needs to be done. Yeah. All right.
All right, thank you, thank you. Yes.
All right, are we ready to go with the rest of the agenda here? Are we ready to go with the rest of the agenda? All right. The next item here is Office of Community Development, transfer of $250 for advertising. The estimated financial impact is 0. So I don't have an explanation, but, or no, here it is. Several legal notices in the Freeman.
I
Alright.
could speak on that because I spoke to Mandy, if you want me to. It's
Do we
ju-
need any discuss, do we need any discussion about it?
I mean, it's no impact, but just letting anybody know if you have questions, I might have some answer.
Okay, I think on
Uh,
this one,
Just well, before John Tui walked out, he told me that the next 2 items had 0 financial impact.
all right, in
Chair,
that case, do you have a motion for this first one? If there's no discussion, call for the vote. All in favor? There we go. The second one is transfer of $33,500 CDBG reimbursement. Oh, thank you. CDBG reimbursement, financial impact is 0.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There we go. Next is 2 budget transfers in health and wellness. I believe these are also no financial impact. Oh, there's 2. Or is it? It
There-
says 2 grant
There are
projects.
2, yeah.
But both are, these are, will be reimbursable by NISDEC grants. All right.
We're doing it together, or are they two?
No, we have to do each one separately.
One's gonna be, we have to match, one has to be matched, but 8 times services.
Yeah.
Donations, yeah.
Cheese me, crease me. That's got a bunch of movement around. Okay. So on the first one, motion to discuss, Shel Hirsch, Tony Davis, any discussion?
Second. I thought Tony, did Tony second?
Tony
All right.
seconded.
Okay.
So any discussion?
No.
Everybody good? In that case, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
I'm sorry, can I go back?
Yes.
And Tony Davis here, it looks like this one that we're talking about is, from what I'm reading here, it's gonna have like apply for, where was I reading this? Support, prioritize action plan, outreach events, materials and maps. I know at one point, there was discussion about kind of come up with some kind of map or something for people for the new construction on Broadway. And I think we can utilize this as if it says it's gonna public outreach events, materials and maps to be able to incorporate that. I know and Kristen Wilson was talking about in last month about, you know, concerns about the new construction on Broadway and how to, you know, of trying to come up with some maps or something like that, which I was against. I think we can utilize this as part of that in the future. Talking about again,
All right,
public outreach events, materials and maps.
great. So we'll need to bring that up with Kristen.
Right.
That's a good idea. Thank you, sir. The next one is also health and wellness, zero financial impact. To request the mayor to execute documents and expend funds for a grant from New York State Department of Health Division of Chronic Disease in the amount of $1,525,000 for 5 years for the implementation of the Kingston Creating Healthy Schools and Communities Grant Project. There is no matching funding requirement here. Motion, Steve Shabbat, second. Oh, do we have a second on this? You need to recuse yourself from this one?
Yes,
Reason?
this one, some of the money will be going to the Ulster County Child Care Council, which is distributed by the Family Woodstock Association.
All right, thank you for that. Any discussion on this? There's no discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next item is from Dan Baker. So we're looking at this decision MAK versus City of Kingston. It's estimated financial impact of 0. It's authorization of a settlement, MAK Real Estate Holdings LLC versus City of Kingston. So any discussion on this? Yeah. All right, is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Thank you. So we're not discussing Rite Aid versus City of Kingston, right? Is that correct?
They're both on the agenda. New business, right?
Dan didn't, it was in my folder and Dan didn't tell me not to put it on. Or
Said
did
not
he?
to put it on, right?
I don't,
I'll try
I
to look
don't
through
have, I don't
my
have the
emails.
email in front of me.
Yeah, he says, I will have 3 items on the 7/14/21 agenda. I'm only asking that one of them, MAKV, City of Kingston, be addressed.
It does say, I have another email, July 2nd, that we wanted to talk about the Rite Aid Corporation versus City of Kingston for the July meeting. But he's not here, so John, do you have any more information?
I don't have any more information. I don't know if
Um,
he did say he only wanted the one addressed. I don't know that he didn't want the other one only in that
I'm gonna give him,
MAK may have been time sensitive and the other one wasn't.
I'm gonna just
but-
give him a call if you guys want
Okay.
to move on and I could step out. Is that okay, Rennie?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, because my understanding was that. And there's no committee report with this other one for Rite Aid versus City of Kingston. Why is it about public safety? Yeah, so I mean, this is what he wrote to me, saying you only wanted the one. Yes. I mean, there was an earlier one asking to discuss the Rite Aid one, but then the later one says he only wants to discuss one. These seats not good for long meetings.
He meant to say August, so he meant to say he'll talk about it in August in that email, so just.
Good. Then the next item is the O&W Trail Coalition dues. The Mayor wrote us that O&W Trail Coalition has done major improvements over the past 5 years, including new signage and mile markers and producing 20,000 newly designed brochures and maps. Their budget is now nearly depleted per our municipal cooperation agreement. They're requesting $500 in dues from each member municipality. So we would be transferring this money out of contingency. Do you have a committee report on this one by chance?
I can draw one up.
I don't seem to have one.
Tony, can you pass on?
Thank you. All right, so the committee report reads, department from the mayor, description to provide funding for O&W Rail Trail Coalition, request following 2021 budgetary transfer from contingency $500 to mayor contracted services. Estimated financial impact is $500. Motion to discuss.
Motion.
Steve Shabbat, second. Michelle Hirsch. Any discussion? Like the idea of trails, thank you. Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Great, thank you for that. The next one concerns the agreement for a phone audit. I believe we've done this before, haven't we?
We have, we've done these a number of times. We do try to rotate firms. They are on a recovery basis only, so there's no fee if the city recovers, no refunds or cost savings. So this is a firm I don't believe we've used before. And the last time we did this was several years ago. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago that we did the telephone audit, but the returns have dwindled in recent years because we've been successful in cutting costs, but once again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If they come in, they find nothing, they get paid nothing.
Great, thank you. Any questions for John on this? All right, and the financial impact is 0. The report reads, request authorization to have Walter A. McDermott Company perform a telephone audit as per the attached agreement. Financial impact estimated at 0. Motion to discuss.
Motion.
Can I just make
Second
a
by
quick
Michelle
comment?
Hirsch. Quick comment from,
If there ends up being savings, we would come back to the council for a budgetary transfer. In that case, we need to put money in the payment line to pay the vendor, and then we would report what the savings were. So you'd have that, and that would be a 0 impact.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, if there's no discussion, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. How do I spell my own name? Really? Okay. So we're moving now to the item 26, item 11 rather, Gill Street resolution. Kevin Bryant,
So this is authorizing the removal of vacant property fees
I'm sorry, can you turn the,
that were improperly assessed against the owner of 26 Gill Street. So the authorization, the committee report is authorizing the removal of the vacant fees in the amount of 5,200 that were improperly assessed against the wrong owner.
okay, and so would the financial impact be 0 then?
Well, it's going to come off of the 21 tax bill.
Okay, so it would be $5,200.
Well, it's going to be probably 5,200 coming off of it. That's
Yeah.
call.
I guess it depends on the way you define financial impact. It doesn't affect the expense line. There was no financial outlay from the city in the first place. I mean, I think you probably should put that number as a financial impact, but so everyone knows who's voting on it. This was no financial outlay by the city. It's just simply a mechanism that we have to go through to get the bill adjusted because the council approves the re-levy to be put on a tax bill. We just seek the approval of the common council to take that re-levy off.
So I should put down 5,200?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to discuss? Any discussion? If there's no discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, then we are moving on to item 12 of the agenda, resolution 139 and 140, referred for fee schedule. So President Schott is here in person. You want to tell us about these? The
Which
fee
one is this?
schedule, ATV ban and the hotel licensing fee.
Oh,
Can we
these were
add-
just,
What's that?
I didn't see that in my agenda at all.
yeah, these were just referred from laws and rules last night. So this is just figuring out what the fee you want it to be.
So we have to place a number on these?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I know the Laws and Rules Committee discussed it when Chief Tinty was in there to, I think it was the number $3,000. I think that's what he was saying and down.
yeah.
So yeah, the Finance Committee just has to establish what fee that you want to have on the fee schedule.
Do we have models of other municipalities? What they charge?
The Laws and Rules Committee had an example from Albany. And it was thousands of dollars. I think it was $3,000.
Somebody who's somebody's arrested with an ATV.
And I know
what's
that,
the fee for the, what's the fine?
So now this is something that we probably need to table it so we can have more time to look and come back with proposals. So we can sit here now, everybody has a phone trying.
Yeah, I moved to table both of these because they just came out of the full council. And I know for the hotel fees, like I was gonna do work on this and then
Okay,
I didn't expect it to be on for this month, so.
I think that's a sound idea.
yeah, I
sound
think it
reasoning.
just worked out with it being so close. I think it's fine to put these as old business. I did reach out to Chief Tinty this morning about, I think I copied you, Tony, about just like making sure he knows that there is no fee up there,
Okay,
because we did pass the law or the resolution last night. So I'll just let him know it'll be another month.
is this in my, with this, because I didn't get that proposal, is it in my mailbox? This one, this.
Yeah.
It's in my mailbox, all right.
Should be in your mailbox. But I think the problem is it's meaningless. And other municipalities have been increasing their vigilance on this and also trying to, develop an appropriate fee that would be a deterrent.
Yeah, I would definitely go back, and if you want me to do it, I could send it to you for the laws and rules.
Okay, that'd be great.
Because the Albany law, and I believe somebody just texted me, it was actually $5,000. So I'll see if I could dig through that and track it down for y'all.
Right, there's also some question about what, just, it has to be in some line with other municipalities, right?
$1 million.
Okay,
I came in late, that's why.
so we're at actually old business, which is way down in the package. So the last thing then is the fund balance. No, because nobody motioned to discuss, so it just goes on to old business. Thank you for clarifying, though. All right, so we're moving to fund balance policy. Most exciting aspect of the agenda, and now here we are. This is
Indeed.
like the Rolling Stones moment.
I wish it was more exciting. So I offered the council presentation at the last finance meeting, asking to amend the city's current fund balance policy to adjust the targeted fund balance level. The range would be 13 to 20%. And once again, I think you're familiar with the materials. If those of you who had questions reached out to me, but I'm here to answer questions if there are any questions.
Well, I think the crucial thing is this is, we're setting a target, and this doesn't limit us in using that money, right?
No, we have a pretty robust policy. What this does is it sets a target range. I think what it provides for is a mechanism for the Common Council and myself to actively manage the fund balance. Some municipalities have a minimum fund balance. Usually those documents, in my opinion, are just something you put in a file, and there's no management associated with it because you hit the minimum, there's nothing you have to do. The nice thing I think about our policy is with that target range, when our fund balance falls outside of that range, there's a series of actions that are recommended for the Common Council to take to bring that fund balance back into line with the targeted range. And those actions are for the financial betterment of the city and its residents and our tax levy. Typically funding one-time expenses, pay-as-you-go capital, paying off debt. I think those actions are a big reason why over the last number of years, we've been able to keep the tax levy intact. And I'm excited myself about the prospects of, what we'll be able to, how we'll be able to use our fund balance policy and, steps we can take to continue those type of actions for our taxpayers.
Great, thank you for that. Any
Right.
questions for John?
Can I just make one other comment right
Yes.
too? I mean, because it's targeted range, I mean, in my mind, where we're at within that range will may be impacted by, how many contracts we have outstanding, where are we at with capital projects, because we do fund projects on a reimbursement basis. So, there may be times where a lower amount may be enough, and there may be times where we need to be towards the higher level. So, but that's something that, if we have a policy that gives us a little bit of flexibility, we don't have to adjust the policy to manage where we're at. So.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions for John? Tony Davis.
But I wasn't at the, Tony Davis, I wasn't at the last finance. So John, what is it currently at? The balance level? You're
Yeah.
proposing
Yep. So we're
13 to 20%?
we're right. So the current policy is 10 to 13.
Okay,
And what I mentioned in our presentation is that at that time, well, prior to that, let me take 2 steps back. We used to have a policy that had a minimum of 10%. That was back when the city was struggling. We were issuing revenue notes just to pay our bills. We were below 10%. That was, I would call, just one of those policies you put in a file somewhere, and there was no active management associated with that. We did a presentation we actually went down to the city, did a presentation to the rating agencies. We modified our fund balance policy to increase that limit from 10 to 13%, to show some type of, I guess at that time, more of it was a goal, and to show the rating agencies and those who are looking at our financial statements that we are looking to improve our fund balance. That being said, the 10 to 13% still below some of their recommendations, but it sufficed for a while. And I think the policy that you have now is more in line with our current financial situation. Just with capital projects alone, they have multiplied many times over, and to save taxpayer money, we do front monies on those projects before we borrow for them. So just the need for cash flow is tremendous. I mean, just today I'm finalizing a $6 million short-term note. And, one of the projects that we're looking at, we're going to have another $2 million of bills that are going to come in between now and the end of the year, and having extra fund balance helps there. Reduce the amount we're actually borrowing, on a short-term basis. So, it's certainly in line. It's in line with what our auditors recommended. It's in line with what Government Finance Officers Association in the country, it's a U.S. Association for Finance Officers. They recommend a minimum target level of 16.67%. It's 15 to 20 is kind of a standard. It does vary from municipality to municipality, what's the most appropriate level, but I certainly think that the 13 to 20 gives us the appropriate flexibility. At this point, I wouldn't recommend ever at this point going over that. I think 13 to 20 is sufficient. I think once you get beyond that level, you start getting into questions of whether or not you're accumulating too much fund balance. This is taxpayer funds, right? So, but I think 13 to 20 gives us some flexibility without accumulating an excess amount of money.
I would go by your expertise in it.
Any other questions for John? Do you have a committee report? I have a blank one here. Oh, good. Thank you. All right, so the committee report reads, recommend amending the city's fund balance policy as per attached to set targeted fund balance level at 13 to 20%, no financial impact. Excuse me, do a motion to discuss? Michelle Hirsch, Steve Shabbat seconds. Any discussion?
I just want to say that I am in favor of this, and just state that what's in this proposal, that the New York State Office of State Controller allows governments to carry over a reasonable amount of unassigned fund balance, but does not define what is reasonable. So.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The measure passes unanimously. Thank you all for being here. This was a long meeting, but nowhere near our record. And there's still some light out. Thank you for that. The light was sneaking up on me. So we are adjourned at 9:01.